ערב טוב, Shabbat Shalom Lachem. Welcome to another episode of Fun with Flags. I am your host, 50 Kitsis, and this is my partner in crime, Soda Friedman. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. 50, you? I'm really curious about the name changes here.
It'll make sense in a moment.
I hope so.
How's your day been?
Well, it just started because it's not even 9 a.m. here, and I'm tired. Should be fun.
כן, אני חושב שנסתפק בדברים האלה. So, this is a topic. This, of course, is my turn for the topic. And this is a topic that I've actually been wanting to do for a very long time now. In fact, it's one of the first few topics I wanted to cover on this show because it's so big and massive and has a lot of moving parts to it. I kept pushing it off. It's of course, a show that has over 20 seasons now. And this whole time, I've just been saying, I'll get around to it when I get to it. And of course, I had to rewatch it. And that's how big it is. And it's like, at some point, I just said, you know what, fuck it. Let's just go ahead and do it. So I started watching the first 10 seasons because those were the ones that I watched regularly when I was younger. And when I started piecing out together how I wanted this episode to go, kind of realized that if I was gonna cover the first 10 seasons, but I kind of realized that if I would have done that, this episode would have been 9 hours long.
Yeah, I don't have that time.
Yeah, and neither of us have that time. So I figured, why not just segment it and just do season by season? Just cover one season at a time, almost like a recap show, because what the hell?
That explains that season 1 in the title. Okay, then.
Yeah, we can still put other topics in between, but I think the thing about this show is it's so entrenched in the cultural zeitgeist of the Israeli people that obviously this show was supposed to be, our show was supposed to be us teaching each other about our respective countries. If you really want to learn where the Israeli state is in any given moment, don't watch the news, don't learn history, watch this show. So that's kind of it. And I would often consider it the Israeli version of Saturday Night Live. That other people disagree, but I stand by my decision. I believe this show is the Israeli answer to Saturday Night Live. Tripped over my words there. Eretz Nehederet. That is the name of the show. Eretz Nehederet literally translates to wonderful country.
So
wonderful land. Or whatever.
I actually have more of an apt comparison. So I wouldn't say I understand the SNL connection because I have seen the show. It's actually more similar to a show I don't know if it's still on up here, but it's called This Hour Has 22 Minutes. It's based on the old British sketch shows, but basically it's similar to this, where it's like they make fun of politics, but they also do other sketches that are, for the country and what have you. To me, from what I've seen, it reminds me more of that.
Okay, well, I haven't seen the show you're referring to, so the only point of reference I had...
honestly, it just dawned on me now. That it actually reminds me more of that.
Even better. I don't feel silly for making that comparison now.
No, it just hit me now.
Now, Soda, if I were to ask you, what would you say is the number one export that Israel exports to the rest of the world?
Sand. No, I'm kidding. Based on our conversations, probably oil.
No. That's the Arab nations. Close, but
sorry, go ahead.
News.
Makes sense.
Like it or hate it, for better or for worse, Israel is the world's #1 source for news. Basically, no Jews, no news, as they say. And someone decided to take that and make it into a show. Yeah, and make it into a show, make a comedy show about it. It's a satiric, political satire show that tries at least to run like newscast, like 9 o'clock news type thing.
Yeah, this is definitely has origins in like 50s, 60s BBC.
Yeah, and this is our version of it. I would say, I think most countries would have something similar to that. This is our version, and of course, there's an interesting cast of characters, which of course not much of them in this picture, but the show's gone on for about 20 years, and it's got this revolving door and ever-changing roster, ever-growing roster of people. You're going to see a lot of familiar faces, probably, and of course,
hold on a second. Can we pause for a second, 50?
Sorry about that. Live TV, folks.
Yeah, no mothers.
Mom stuff. So let's introduce the cast of characters, shall we?
Let's do it.
First and foremost, probably most important, we have Eyal Kitsis and Tal Friedman.
Dig the shirt.
Yep. So now the names make sense, don't they?
A little bit.
Yeah. So obviously that's Eyal Kitsis there with the white shirt, and the guy in the Iron Maiden shirt is Tal Friedman. These two are kind of the Timon and Pumbaa of Israeli comedy. They do a lot of stuff together, mostly this show, but they do a lot of other shows, mostly comedy shows together. One of the first collaborations that they ever had with each other was a show called The Sin and Its Punishment. It was a biblically themed game show with contestants and questions and challenges and stuff, with Kitsis being the host and Friedman being God, essentially, making comedy and eventually deciding who wins and who loses. So it's somewhat sort of like a thing where Kitsis is the straight man and Friedman is the wild card. That's
so like an Apple sort of thing.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how they run things. And speaking of duos, we have the dynamic duo to end all dynamic duos, and two names that should sound familiar to you, Eli and Mariano, which you might remember from the show we did about the Israeli sketches.
I do, yes. You do.
That's the one you actually liked from the thing.
Close.
Eli Finish and Mariano Edelman. Next, we have Orna Banai, which you might recognize the last name from the Banai episode we did with the famous family, where all the most of the family members are performers and stuff. Public eye type people.
Yeah.
Next is Dov Navon, which you might have also seen him in the Israeli sketch episode we did. He was part of that group of people who were just packing oranges and it went nowhere. Yeah. And finally, rounding up the cast is Alma Zak, who was relatively an unknown quantity at the time. She was kind of the new girl on the block, on the comedy scene. So that was the group for season 1. For the most part, we have Kitsis and Friedman, who are a duo. They're used to doing stuff with each other. They know each other's quirks already. Same thing goes for Eli and Mariano. Orna Banai was already part of a duo with another famous Israeli personality, Eretz. They did a lot of stuff together for many years. Dov Navon was, of course, part of a comedy group, and Alma Zak was mostly kind of, a standalone. She before that it was always kind of how she was going to work with all these people who are already used to group dynamics and such, and she fit in like a glove, and that kind of set the bar for a lot of later people who joined the cast after the fact. It's like, okay, so they bring in this person on. How are they going to jive with the rest of the group? And they just work. The show has great chemistry between all of its people. Now, I did say that they're trying to run this show like a newscast, a newscast. But for the most part, the bread and butter of this show is impressions.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's an impressionist
Which is where I see the more of the comparison to SNL come from.
Yeah, that's where I was aiming for. At least that's why it made sense to me. So in fact, this show is so deep into impressions that, fun fact, maybe try this later. If you go to the Wikipedia page for the word impressionists and change the language to Hebrew, the first thing you're going to see is this picture right here of Mariano Edelman doing his Benjamin Netanyahu impression.
What a wig!
Oh yes, what a wig! And that not only just shows you how important, how much impressions on this show is synonymous with the word impressions, but also just shows you how important his specific impression is to the show. Of course, if you know anything about Israeli politics, especially in recent years, you know that Netanyahu has been around for a very long time.
To the comparison of Saturday Night Live, one of the things they're most famous for is not mocking, but making fun of the current president sitting. So yeah, that's all the way back to Gerald Ford back in the early years of SNL.
Wow.
Oh yeah, they've been doing it since the beginning.
Yeah, 75 was it?
70 sounds about right. I'm trying to remember that sounds about right. Hold on. Keep talking, I'll look.
The difference there is America actually changes its presidents every once in a while. While Israel had the same prime minister for too many years, so that's why.
Yeah, 75. You're right.
Yeah, I know stuff. Thank you, Watch Mojo. But yeah, so that's why this impression stood the test of time, and it's still going till this very day. So now, since Benjamin Netanyahu has been around for so long, I think he can forgive us for not talking about him in this episode.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, we'll have plenty of time to talk about him in later episodes. And plus, I mean, when the show started in 2003, he wasn't the prime minister. He wasn't even the head of the Likud party. It was hard to say this about him, but he was kind of irrelevant at the time. So he didn't feature on the show as much. But yeah, so that's basically the bread and butter of the show is impressions of politicians alongside original characters that they kind of make up along the way. Now, if you look in the background behind us,
the panel.
Yeah, you see that's how the panel looks. You got Kitsis right there in the center, trying to host, being the anchor, or rather, as I like to call him, the captain of the rudderless ship.
Yeah.
Because he's the one actually trying to keep the show going, keep the show together, actually trying to make this show look and feel like a newscast. And it seems that all the other characters are determined to ruin that and just make fun of everything. And that's kind of how the comedy of the show works. The show was shown in front of a live audience, and I'm pretty sure in the later seasons, season 3 or 4 onwards, they actually started being live, broadcast live. And there's kind of a South Park element to it where something happened in the news, and then basically they have like a couple of days to write a sketch about it, make the characters, props, costumes, rehearse it, and boom, you're live in front of a camera. It's a very challenging undertaking. And the thing about this show is it's like in the first couple of years it used to be broadcast on Friday nights.
Yeah.
Because it's the end of the week. You got everything that happened during the week. You make fun of it, and the weekend after the Friday evening newscast, you just go lay back and just make fun of everything that happened over the week. For some reason, at some point they just changed it to Monday, which makes no sense in my opinion. But whatever. I mean, whatever they decide, I suppose. So like I said, Keats is right there, the host, the anchor man, if you will, and he's joined by both panel members and special guests. And the first panel member, pundit, I should say, we have to talk about is Heli Gonzalez.
אבל בפנים אני רותחת ובוערת כמו אלי לוזון בלי קרם הגנה באילת.
Now, if you couldn't already tell, that was Tal Friedman.
Kind of
Just as
figured.
a woman. Yeah, he was just as a woman. There's a reason why I'm hung up on this, because you're going to see that a lot. In fact, he even jokingly said once that during his career, and he's had a very long career, he actually spent more time playing female roles than he actually played male roles. Most of them were on this show. So it's
like
going to be it's going to be a regular thing on this show. Now, the character of Heli Gonzalez was inspired by the real-life personality Shelly Yefimowitz, who...
Okay.
What?
So,
Oh, okay. I heard in delay. So she was originally a journalist, a panelist on news shows that transitioned over into politics. That transition happened in later seasons of this show, but for now she's still in the guise of a panelist. She was she always had something to say, something on her mind, and she was very ruthless in the way in how she used to roast people. She literally one of her favorite character traits was that she roasted people in front of everybody.
אם אני הייתי יודעת על זה מראש, הייתי מסגירה את עצמי לחיזבאללה.
Obviously, there's no subtitles on this one, mainly because I know you don't understand what they're saying, but what they're saying is meant for someone who might be watching this show.
I am watching. Just my eyes are all over the place.
No. I'm not. I'm someone who might be sitting and watching.
And recreationally. Okay. I'm like, I am watching.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking. I'm saying that.
Sorry.
The jokes. You're not going to understand the jokes, but the jokes are meant for someone who is watching the show and is understanding the language.
Yeah. Okay. I get it.
Now, if there's any jokes that need explaining, I'm here to do a rough translation because it would just get lost in translation if I try to do it. So I'm trying to convey the feel, the essence of what the jokes mean. Like, for example, with Heli, one of her character traits, the quirks, she had a different one every season pretty much. But for the first season, one of the traits that she displayed a lot was whenever they were talking about a specific guest that was on the panel, she was saying stuff along the lines of, while he's off in the Knesset doing politics, she's the one who has to take care of the children, and while he's mingling with other people, she's the one that has to keep the house together. You see the comedy there.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of something I've been watching lately. I came across something on Facebook. It's about this mime that works at like a SeaWorld or something like that in Orlando, and every once in a while he'll see like a couple walk by and like the lady's pushing the carriage, or she'll have carrying all the stuff. He'll stop them and he'll actually grab the stuff or grab the carriage and put it onto the dad to the cheers of the crowd.
Yeah, so for all these jokes that I'm referencing, of course I have clips, right?
Naturally, I would have hoped so.
עם כל הכבוד לגברת לבנת, ואני מודה שיש לי קצת כבוד והרבה כבוד אליה כאישה, אך גם יש לי סלידה ממנה כגבר. אני חייבת לצאת חוצץ נגד הפתרונות היצירתיים שלה לבעיות מהן סובלים התלמידים בוויהס.
That's another character trait that she used to have, is that she used to talk in quotations all the time, and she used to get a contract against people. And I don't know if you noticed, but she's always holding a pen in one of her yeah, that was another character trait that everywhere she went with the pen. But that was not really the clip I was aiming for. It's this one.
בזמן שאשתו משליכה כיסאות על אנשים בוועידת הליכוד, הוא זה שיחכה לה לשווא עם ארוחת ערב רומנטית, וכשתחזור היא תמצא אותו מתנחם עם מכל ענק של גלידה ואומר, תראי איך שמנתי, תראי איזו פרה נהייתי בגללך.
You
I
get
don't understand the word, but I do get the context, I think.
Good, because I got more.
היא זו שנאלצה לעבור תחילה מהפך.
So, one other thing you need to know about Tal Friedman, though, the guy's a madman sometimes.
Oh.
He's got this Josh McCouga-like quality about him that there is very little he wouldn't do for comedy, very little he wouldn't do to make people laugh.
The Mick Foley comedy. You'll have to look that up, folks, if you don't know what I mean.
Okay.
ואחרי כל זה, כשתואיל השרה הנכבדה להיכנס סוף סוף למיטה, היא כל כך תתפלא כש... ושיגיד לה לבסוף, לימור לא הלילה, יש לי כאב ראש. עוד מקרה של קיפוח בעלים של נשים חזקות נכנס לסטטיסטיקה.
Did you like that?
That was pretty funny. Was not expecting the cartwheel.
Me neither. I remember I was like 10 when that happened, and it took a while for my jaw to drop.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
I can just honestly sit here all day just playing clips of this character.
שנאלצת להסתפק בריבוע קטן בצד. כנראה שלבמאי מצלמות בטקס כואב כשלנשים מצליח.
Yep. So, and that is the character of Heli, played by the incredible Tal Friedman.
Nice.
שנאלצה לשבת כאן בערב שבת ולשאוף מבלון הליום המזיק לבריאותה. עד מקרה של ניצול של נשים נכנס לסטטיסטיקה.
Yeah, he had a tendency for breaking other people.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Those guys are always the best. Tim Conway, you know I'm talking about you.
Shout out. Now, the other panelist that you can see on this picture behind me is a character by the name Udi Ben David Federbush.
ערב טוב. אודי, הכותרת שלך. כן, אייל, הכותרת המדינית של היום הזה, ראש הממשלה אריאל שרון כן? עד היום גיבה את אין לי כותרת, אייל.
I shall call him Federbush.
Federbush, yeah. Federbush. He wasn't around for that long, so don't worry about that. But one thing I forgot to mention is just remember the words Erev Tov. It means good evening. You're going to hear that a lot in the context of this show.
Okay.
Erev Tov. You're going to hear that a lot.
Erev Tov.
Now, unlike Heli, which is based on a real-life person, Udi is based primarily on 3 real-life journalists, but in name only.
Oh.
And their names are Udi Segal, Alon Ben David,
Okay.
and Orly Vilnai Federbush. But like I said, in name only, not in character. The guy's an idiot on the show. I don't know if you could tell from that one clip, but
A little bit.
basically his shtick was that he always showed up unprepared without doing his homework. He didn't have a headline. He didn't have a story to talk about. A lot of the times when they sent him to report from the field, he showed up at the wrong place. You get the meaning. So he was the punching. He was the punching bag, the butt of the joke. A lot of the times, and him and Heli could not stand each other. They hated
This is
each
in real life. This is real.
No, on the show. It's
okay.
It's a meta thing. So like on the show, every time he showed up without a homework, because I don't know, the dog ate my headline or whatever.
Yeah.
Kelly would often roast him as only she could. A lot of the times her jokes were too complicated for him to understand. But there was some tension there. Obviously, Dov Navon, Tal Friedman, very good friends in real life. But on the panel, as characters, they couldn't stand each other. They hated each other. And like I said, he was the butt of the joke. Now,
Gotcha. So it was all an act.
Of course, yeah. Sometimes a lot of the times you can't. They get so into these characters that it's hard to tell if it's an act or not. But that was an act.
I hear you.
Now, a third panelist that sometimes appeared and kind of was phased out later towards season 1 and was completely dropped in season 2 onwards was the character of Rear General Merkava Feldman. I don't know if you can tell, but she's got something to do with the military, right?
Yeah, a little on the nose.
Very on the nose. She was essentially on the show regularly as the IDF's official spokeswoman.
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but there's just so many hints on her character. Like, even her hair is tied up with a bow in the shape of a knife and an olive branch, which is literally the IDF symbol.
Yeah.
And, all the war decorations and whatnot. Now, she was actually based on the real-life IDF spokeswoman at the time, Rear Admiral Miri Regev. And that side was well placed. Trust me. Yeah, there's a lot. We were going to talk about this character a lot in later seasons. Not a lot of good stuff with this woman, but for now, let's just talk about her fake character on this show.
Okay.
And then that's how she is. And as you can pretty much tell, she's got the military spirit literally written all over her. Right?
Yeah.
תת-אלוף פלדמן, בוא'נה, אני חייב לומר שאני רואה פה צד שאני לא מכיר אצלי. אייל, בסדר, אני בשליטה. מרכבה. וואי, הוא אמר את השם שלי, אני לא מאמינה, אני חולה עליך, הייתי דורשת לך שערות אם זה היה אפשרי.
You can kind of tell the eccentricities of the character.
A little bit.
This is the closest character to the real life counterpart. Let's just say that for now. So yeah, she got very nervous around high-ranking officials and high-ranking military people, like Minister of Defense, as seen in this clip. Now, one of the main character traits that she carried was that she was fiercely protective of the IDF. Which is ironic considering what the woman does today, but that's beside the point. She's a bitch. I mean, there's a whole thing we can talk about it later. Off the record. But yeah, so one of the main traits that she displayed, this character specifically, on the show, is that every time Kitsis, the host, criticized the IDF or asked difficult to answer questions, she would get extremely defensive and go something along the lines of, "Is it possible that you are questioning the IDF? Are you doubting the IDF?" That sort of a thing.
Gotcha. Okay.
ניצחתי, קיציץ. מעל 10 שניות, תרוויחי.
What the heck was that?
I think you're starting to get the hang of this show right now.
A little bit.
Now, another character that had some appearances on the show, he was mostly like an invisible character, like he's only being mentioned at times, never actually seen.
Yeah.
But he was Heli's boyfriend at the time, Rodrigo Gonzalez, hence the Gonzalez in her last name. A lot of times she kept mentioning him, but never actually he turns out until he did.
זה היה החלום שלי, להיות הכתב המדיני של התוכנית. נו, באמת, לפני שבועיים החלום שלך היה להגיש את התחזית, אחר כך להיות כתב כלכלי, עכשיו זה פתאום מדיני. בסדר, יש לי הרבה חלונות, אני יושן הרבה. אין לי הרבה מה לעשות בחיים.
So that was Mariano getting in touch with his Argentinian roots, as it were. His character trait was he really wanted to be a reporter on this show and never actually got the chance to do it. Until one time he was given the chance, and this is more or less how it went.
Vamos, Rodrigo. סיכון עולמי עם רודריגו. שלום וברוכים הבאים לסיכון עולמי עם רודריגו. השבוע קרו הרבה דברים בעולם ואנחנו הולכים לראות אותם. רגע, מה זה המוזיקה הזה? אני מבקש, אפשר איזה מוזיקה para mover el culito así, para que las chicas en casa se puedan divertir. ¡Ay, le costelito! Ok, bוא נתחיל. שימו לב, זה נגמר. טוב, תזכירו לי שהיה משהו מקודם על הלונה גל. בוא נראה פה, הנשיא, יצפן מצונן. טוב, כולנו זה החורף, כנראה שלא תהיה לו תוכנית השבוע, אבל... הנה הוא כבר מרגיש יותר טוב, אז כנראה כן תהיה תוכנית. וזה, בוא נראה רגע, זה באמת, זה במיוחד בשביל הבנות, זה מאוד חשוב בשבילכם. כשאתן הולכות לים, תקפידו למרוח קרן הגנה. בסדר? טוב, זה כנראה צילום שצולם ממש גבוה, אולי מעזריאלי אפילו. הייתה מכונית שנסעה ככה סתם, ופתאום התפוצצה ככה, אף אחד לא עשה לה שום דבר. קצת מוזר, אז תזכרו, אם אתם נוסעים באוטו ואתם פתאום רואים איזה עיגול אדום כזה, תברחו מהר ותנגן קוידדו, אני מבקש. בוא נראה, אוי, זה משהו באמת, זה ממש מרגש. זה השיגור הראשון של קונקון חשמלי לחלל, וכמו שאתם רואים, זה לא יצא אני יודע מה. אוקיי. Madre mía, מה זה? מי שם את זה? תעזוב, ¿quién puso esta gorra en la televisión? אני מבקש. תראית את זה? זה מסיבה. אז למה לא הזמינו אותי? מה זה ככה? מה זה? מתקנים שולחן? בסדר, כנראה משפצים, אחרי השיפוצים יזמינו אותי לפתיקה החגיגית.
And never invited on again.
Yeah, no kidding. I didn't understand a word of it. He was just pointing at pictures.
And not having a clue what he said.
Yeah.
Well, not understanding what he was pointing at all. Now, another character who now we're transitioning into panelists who are also politicians at the time, with the character, which obviously now we're in full-on impression territory, with Judy Nir Moses Shalom. And yes, that is her full name. Judy Nir Moses. Well, nowadays it's Judy Nir Moses because she got divorced, but that's a different matter altogether. At this point, that was her name, Judy Nir Moses Shalom. And she was basically the wife of the foreign minister, but a lot of the times she was more in the public eye than he was. So that the showrunners kind of made it a joke that every time they invited the foreign minister on, she showed up.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Sharon Osbourne of Israel.
Kinda, yes. Yeah. Even with the nose thing.
I was thinking more the hair, but yeah.
Yeah. Her hair changed in later seasons, like the real life person. So I specifically picked a picture from her early days with the hair. Makes sense. And speaking of characters with iconic hair, then another politician who regularly appeared on the show was, of course, Shaul Mofaz, who was at the time Israel's Minister of Defense. And his character was one of the more memorable ones of the show. Grr, grr. I don't know if you can tell, but he's got a very specific accent. He's got a very
I thought he was
accentuated R. What?
I thought he was mumbling.
No, he's got a very accentuated R. And that's really what became a part of his character. And that was one of his catchphrases. His official catchphrase was "Gever Gever," which literally translates to "manly man" or "man man." He's a Gever Gever. He's a man's man. A Gever
Oh.
Gever.
Weirdo.
Get it?
אתה רוצה איזה שפיץ לעין עכשיו? סליחה? לא. בסדר, אז תתחיל להרגיע גבר גבר לפני שגם אני אשים לך גברת גברת.
And every time Kitsis asked him a difficult question and something that he couldn't answer, he just threatened him. He threatened to throw something at him. So threatened to beat him up because he's a tough guy. He's a man. He's a Gever Gever. He's a former IDF General Chief of Staff and Minister of Defense.
תיגש אתה בעצמך לספריית הוידאו הקרובה, תיקח את מבצעי יונתן, תראה מה אנחנו מסוגלים לעשות, תיקח את הזית הכלבה התת-רבית, תראה מה מסוגלים לעשות, תיקח ברידג'ט ג'ון.
And as you can tell,
I guess the guy kind of reminds me of David Smulchen. Does that name ring a bell?
yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. David Smulchen's Smulchen's doing this.
And you probably couldn't tell in this clip, but yes, he was mumbling at times.
Yeah.
All the times he was mumbling. And he always used to go really out of his way to explain things sometimes.
בוא אני אראה לך את זה על המסך. כאן יש לנו גדר. מסביב השטחים. מסביב מדינת ישראל. מסביב מסך טלוויזיה. מסביב יש אולפן, יש גבר, גבר, וספק גבר, ספק אישה.
ומה איתי?
אתה גבר גבר.
Gever Gever. You're a Gever Gever. Manly man. If you like someone, tell him he's a Gever Gever.
Okay. He's a man's man.
He's a man's man. Another very prominent politician who regularly was in the first few seasons was a name you should be familiar with, Ariel Sharon.
Yep.
Hey!
There it is.
One of the most I don't even know how to say this. One of the most impressioned politicians of all time.
אני מתנצל על האיחור. אני פשוט עברתי איזה ניתוח קטן.
First thing I saw when I saw that was the Cave of Wonder. Not the Cave of Wonders, was the Kool-Aid Man.
Oh, how did you go from the Kool-Aid Man to the Cave of Wonders?
I had Aladdin on the brain, apparently.
Apparently, yeah. Oh, maybe because of Robin Williams.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Yep, maybe. Speaking of easily imitated politicians, Moshe Katsav. Do you remember this guy's name from the politicians episode we did?
I remember the face more than the name.
Well, good. As a lot of people do. He's the president that would have turned out to be a serial rapist at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, before that story came out, he was a very popular character on the show, mainly because it seemed like the showrunners went out of their way to make him look like an idiot.
כבוד הנשיא, אתה איתנו? לא, אני כאן עם גילה. אולי אתה תוכל לספק לאורחת שלנו משוודיה את מה שהיא רוצה? יאללה, אני כבר אמרתי לך, אני פה עם גילה.
It sounded like he was saying something before I played the clip.
I wasn't.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So, this guy, it sucks because while he was on the show, he was one of my favorite characters. Like, one of the characters that made me laugh the most next to Federbush.
כבוד הנשיא, אתה איתנו? 1446 בפינוי. 1448 בפינוי. כבוד הנשיא, אפשר לשאול מה אתה עושה? אני סופר את הטפסים של סקר משאל העם. קיבלת אותי עכשיו. 1 בפינוי. 2 בפינוי.
Did you see what they did there?
Little bit, but I don't understand it.
I mean, he was just counting. They did a poll all over the country, and he was counting the votes.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, did you see? You know, when you're flicking through pages, you gotta lick your thumb to.
Yeah.
And he was doing with the wrong hand. Did you see that?
I did. Yeah, I just didn't know what the fuck he was doing. Oh,
All right.
I, can,
So
I get it. Okay.
okay.
So he's really that dumb, is what you guys are trying to say.
What?
He's really that dumb.
I don't know if the real person was that dumb. I mean, as we know now, the guy's not very smart.
Yeah.
But they accentuate it, just like every impression does.
Okay,
But I don't want you to get the impression that they were only doing impressions of Israeli people. They did impressions of people from all over.
Oh.
Diego Armando Maradona.
Te quiero, te amo, vamos todavía, gente. ¡Ey! ¡Eres todo la Ken! La reputa madre de cabeza.
כן, ערב טוב לך, ערב טוב לך. רגע, דייגו ארמנדו מרדונה, זה הרכש החדש שלכם?
תשמע, ההנהלה ביקשה שחקן עם קבלות. כמו שזה נראה עכשיו, יש לו בעיקר קבלות של טייק-אווי.
So they're making fun of the Maradona, the soccer player.
Yeah, Maradona.
Maradona. Yeah, I was like, I actually recognize that name.
Yeah, because you're not that big on football, real football.
No, but he's a name.
He's a name that comes up.
Yeah, he's a name I know.
Yeah, good. And they also occasionally made fun of Al Jazeera for whatever reason.
رئيس الوزراء الزيوني أرييل شارون جعيس بن حوالي في الضهية قعدت المكومة وحاجر في الستين.
What? I heard a coma.
Yeah, they were talking about
Ariel Sharon.
Before he had the coma. He had build up to the big coma.
Oh, gotcha.
So yeah, that was mostly the format of the show. It was mainly in two news segments with the panel where they talked about news with the politicians and world leaders and such, and a second segment where basically just talking about pop culture, like sports and movies and such. And that's just one part of the show. There's several parts of the show. On one of the other parts of the show was occasionally they did one-off sketches. Some of the ones that I already showed you off camera. One-off sketches that sometimes were related to what happened in the news over the week. And sometimes they were just general sketches that the showrunners thought was funny. Like the one time when they made a joke about founder of Hamas, Sheikh Ahmad Yassin, making a music album.
לא נפסיק יסין, מיטב הלהיטים של השייך בעל כל הפעמונים, כל השירים, מכל התקופות, עם כל הזיכרונות. לא נפסיק יסין, מארז מהודר של 4 תקליטורים, כולל להיט המועדונים. ושירים בשביל הנשמה. השירים שצבעו את ילדותנו בשחור, לא נפסיק יסין.
The good thing I showed you who Ahmad Yassin was in a few episodes ago. Now, one of the more prominent one-off sketches that they did back in the day, they were very smart. They were really clever, and they really managed to capitalize on what was at the time the hottest commodity in Israel.
Oh.
Uh, that was Ninet Tayyib. At the time, the number one singer in Israel. She was the first ever winner of a show called A Star Is Born, which is basically,
Oh, okay. So kind of
it's
like your version of American Idol.
American Idol, Got Talent, The Voice, that stuff.
Yeah, that kind
That
of
was the
stuff.
first format of that show. She was the first ever winner of that show, and she exploded. She was everywhere. Like, she was the most famous person in the country at that time. And
Yeah, that's happened a
obviously,
few times over here too.
the showrunners of this show uh, were smart about this sketch that they made for her. They essentially, in the sketch, they made her a product, something you can buy and own in your own house. And essentially, she would sing to you whenever you want and whenever you don't want.
That,
הלו? הלו, יהודה! ראובן! אתה לא מאמין מה אשתי קנתה! את נינט מהטלוויזיה! לא נכון, אתה עובד עליי! לא עובד עליך, הנה, תשמע! אתה שומע, סוכני? אתה שומע? שר אליך, ראובן, אליך, עם הבית שלי. אם אתה הולך, רגע, אני אכניס אותך. רגע, ראובן. אתה שומע? אל תבכה, אני בוכה בשבילך. שרה, לכי תביאי קרח.
אשתך מזייפת? נינט לי תהפוך כל שירה חובבנית באמבטיה לדואט מושלם.
הוא יבוא, זה היום, ככה אנו באיזה חלום. אם נמות יבוא שכך נזכרת ובוא לא נזכור. הוא יבוא, הוא יבוא.
That must have been really fun to film.
yeah, that's a type of sketch I don't know if you can do nowadays. Owning someone, but that would be creepy having them just automatically pop up when you're in the shower and start singing.
Yeah, of course. Always got to remember to buy the original one and the original packaging, and not the bootleg version, right?
נינט לי באריזה המקורית. היזהרו מחיקויים זולים.
אז מה אתה אומר? 20 שקל, סגרנו?
מה זה אפילו לא דומה, זה לינה.
זה לינה! זה אותו דבר, גברת. נו, תשאירי משהו. ים של דמעות בשתי ידיי, רקדי שובי אליי. יש לכם משהו קראנצ'י בבית?
אני לא יודעת, זה לא נראה לי.
אולי גיא בבסון?
לא, אני לא רוצה.
Yeah. And most importantly, don't forget to switch her off when you go to sleep, right?
Yeah, no
אז לילה טוב, אבא. לילה טוב, יואבי. לילה טוב, דניס.
I was gonna say whatever happened to that singer. She's still got a career.
She's still around. Actually, she a few days ago, I believe, she was one of several performers that performed for a show honoring the fallen victims of the Nova Music Festival. Now she did a new single there. I watched her. The woman's 40 now, sexier than ever. That is all I'm gonna say.
Fine wine is what you're saying.
Oh yeah, better than fine wine. Wine wishes it could age like this woman.
Nice.
That's all I have to say. Okay, so that is one of the one-off sketches, and now another one-off sketch that also involved characters that regularly appeared on and off. I mean, they debuted in this season, but they weren't big in this show. They just appeared whenever it was relevant. The two Bedouin characters, Sabah and Latif.
אתר החושות בו אנחנו נמצאים מנוהל על ידי האחים סבח ולטיף. מה יש לכם להציע לתייר הישראלי?
والله نحن بو ايش لانه احلى حوشات والله فنان نحن مسكرين على البسيس بيدن سحلب
אתה בחורה יפה יפה. עם איזה שמבוע את מתחפשת?
خلص روح عندك خلص خلص بري بدي عنه بري انت רוצה לראות בולבול של בדואי?
Yeah, that one guy's pretty creepy.
אתה רוצה לראות בלבול של בדואי? But yeah, they tried to make the show, the sketch look like the Bedouins are doing, the Bedouins from Sinai, by the way, Sinai Peninsula, are trying their best to give the Israeli tourist the time of their lives, the proper Israeli tourist experience.
בחופש הישראלי יש כידוע דרישות מיוחדות.
Stung by jellyfish?
A sea urchin.
Ah,
A jellyfish is the same character, but a different sketch in another season.
gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can call this another successful Israeli vacation, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit.
יאללה, בוא נעוף מפה כבר.
רגע, צריך לחכות לבוסמן.
מה בוסמת? המונית מלאה, איך ניכנס פה כולנו? תעדוס, תעלה, אני לא חשוב פה טוב! תעדוס!
That one guy kind of looks like Weird Al in the 80s.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out who he was reminding me of.
Yeah, Weird Al in the 80s.
Yep. And now it makes total sense. But yeah, it's not a vacation in Sinai if you don't leave a flipper behind. Speaking from experience. Anywho. Now, another thing that they did, we talked about the news segment, we talked about one-off sketches, but another thing that they also did was a series of sketches with regular appearing characters. Each season had several characters that were, some were impressions of existing characters and some were original characters based on, certain stuff, but for the most part, completely original to the show. And one of the impression characters for the series of sketches was based on the real life singer Margalit Tzanani, also known as Margot. A lot of the times, she is an Israeli singer of Yemenis descent with a very short temper, as Yemenis tend to be.
Yeah.
שיקחו קצת החופה, ואז כבר ייקח לי להגיע מהתימניה עד באילת לאולמי געתון בנהריה. ממי, תעשי לי בוץ, אני חייבת להתעורר.
אין לנו בוץ.
שנייה רגע, מרגיזים אותי פה. אני אדבר איתך עוד מעט. תגיד לי, מתי אתה יוצא שוב פעם מהתא? מה זאת אומרת אין בוץ?
So,
I was expecting more of a temper.
just wait. So a lot of her sketches mainly focused around her arriving, like you saw in Tel Avivian style businesses, like a cafe, a bakery, whatever. And a lot of the times she had certain demands that are very common for Yemenis, but the Tel Avivian audience just doesn't really get that stuff. And a lot of the times she couldn't get what she wanted and she got very frustrated.
כשאת ישנת ברמת אביב על הפוטון שלך, אני תופרת את הארץ בהופעות וישנה רק במעברים מוזיקליים בין השירים. אז אל תחרטטי לי פה, בסדר? שימי לי מהר פה איזה בוט שחור לפני שאני משחררת לך עד לפנים.
And whenever she couldn't get what she wanted, she usually found a way to punish the poor clerk who happened to get in her way.
Oh,
אולי גרניטה?
כאן זה קפה אלהנדרה, ככה מכינים בוץ בתימנית. ג'חרי, תכף אני אחמם אותך עם איזה בוציאטו.
גוררים פה למישהו את הוואן.
אני לא מאמינה, ירוסלב ישן בפנים.
Does that fit the temper you were hoping for?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, this happened in all kinds of situations, all kinds of Tel Avivian style businesses.
בטח, אל תחמם אותי. לא, נראה לך הגיוני שאני אנחה טקס הענקת ספרי תורה לכיתות ב'? ברור שאני צוחק. אני אהיה שם ב9:15 לבלנס. ביי, להתראות. חמודי, תן לי 20 פיתות. אין לנו פיתות. אז לאפות, יאללה, היום מ8:00 והבטן נדבקת לי לגב.
Yeah, she wanted pitas, and the guy just isn't selling any pitas. What are you gonna do, right?
Punish him.
I mean, sure. That sounds right.
זהו, הוצאתי את כל הדונדמניות. יופי, ג'חרי, עכשיו תוציא לי את כל המלח גס מכל הפוקצ'ו. אני לא יכול לעשות דבר כזה, זה ייקח לי שעות. אני כבר שרתי לך את הלהיט שלי, יום אחד אולי אפרוס ידיים. לא, סטופ, בסדר. וזה יהיה כל כך.
Yeah, she was a character both in real life and in on the show, and we don't really need to get into some of the real stuff that happened to her behind the scenes, the real woman, because that's several years from this season, and has a slight offshoot connection to me, but maybe we'll talk about it when it's relevant.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay? And of course, like I said, some of these series of sketches with ongoing story plots had real life people, but some of them had completely original characters for the show. And the first big major sensation original character for the show is, of course, the iconic legendary character Luba. Luba, the supermarket cashier. And I'm pretty sure a certain woman watching this show right now is screaming out her name at the screen right now.
Hi, 50s mom.
Yeah, so Luba, the supermarket cashier, the first major important character for this show, the first really major character that came out of this show, more than Heli and Udi Ferrabush and all the other characters.
The breakout character.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. The breakout.
Call them over here, breakout characters.
The first of several breakout character from the show.
כן, בבקשה, יש כרטיס מטה? לא, אין לי. אתה רוצה קנה שוקופלקס מקבלת מעמד למחבת ב9.90?
לא, תודה.
בסדר.
Seder. So yeah, she was a supermarket cashier, a Russian supermarket cashier, with the Russian, Soviet mentality, no nonsense, ball busting. Like she does not mess around. Again, not just like with Margot, not built for the Israeli laid back, chill mentality, if you catch my meaning. And that was kind of the main defining character trait for this character. And her series of sketches was also an interesting place for a lot of the famous celebrities to make celebrity guest appearances on the show.
קרפיונה יפה. לא משהו, זה קצת עפרפר, זה צריך להיות מבריק, את יודעת.
בסדר. בסדר?
בסדר.
בסדר?
בסדר. נו!
זה קרפיונה יפה.
טוב. כן, ואיך היה רעיון איתו? שאלת אותה על הפרידה מתום קרוז?
אהלן? כן, בבקשה, יש כרטיס מועדון?
So, for those of you not in the know, the people you just saw, the famous people you saw in this this series of clips, was, of course, the famous Israeli chef Israel Aroni. That's his name. The two rapper duo Subliminal and The Shadow, and yes, that's their name. That's their rapper names. And the guy in the middle sketch that you saw with the green shirt, are you looking their names up?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. The guy who saw in the middle there with the green shirt was a man by the name of Guy Penis.
Okay.
I was expecting a bigger reaction from that.
Well, I that's because I'm a little stunned.
From what, the name?
The name, I was not expecting the stun.
That's the guy's name, Guy Penis. And I'll tell you something else. He's the head of the celebrity gossip shows in Israel.
Oh.
Like he's the guy that runs the famous Good Evening with Guy Penis show.
Okay then.
And a lot of the times he asks the celebrities to wrap up their interviews by saying, "Hi, Guy, Erev Tov." Hi, Guy, good evening, to the camera. And he does a montage of these clips, and a lot of the times he does it whenever he's interviewing, or rather, his reporters are interviewing American celebrities, and they're just stunned at the fact that they have to say "Hi, Guy Penis" to the camera. Okay, so what is Luba's main shtick on the show? Basically, like I said, she's a cashier, and she's got all these crazy, wacky characters that show up, and suddenly they have weird requests and demands from the cashier. Suddenly, it's like, actually, I don't want these products to cancel it. Or how about, actually, you know what? Hold that thought. I just remembered something. I gotta go grab it. Or
Okay.
yeah, actually, I do this instead of this. That sort of a thing, and that just does not compute for the Soviet mind that is Luba, and that's when she loses it and loses her temper, and that is when she gives them the speech, the devastating Luba speech. It's a speech that was uttered so many times by Luba that pretty much everyone kind of saw, everyone memorized the speech by heart. So, like, you do all this stuff, she loses her temper, and then manager come to Luba. He say, "How many customer come to Luba?" Luba say, "One come to Luba." And manager say, "Luba going home. No work, no language, tough.
Yeah, so I get it. Those characters kind of, especially to describe it, Mrs. Brown kind of reminds me of a Mrs. Brown.
All right, this is Brown Luba. That is the speech. Manager come to Luba. He say, "How many customer come to Luba?" Luba say, "One come to Luba." Manager say, Luba go home. No work, no language, tough.
מעביר מוצרים, בא מנהל אומר כמה לקוחות בא בלובה, אמרת אחד בא בלובה, כי כל היום האוויר מבטל, המנהל אומר, לובה, הלכת בבית שלך, אין עבודה, אין שפה, קשה. בסוף מנהל משטרת שואל כמה לקוחות בא בלובה, אמרת אחד בא בלובה, כאילו אומרת, מביא סיגריה ומביא שקדות מרק, יאללה. המנהל אומר, לובה, הלכת בבית שלך, אין עבודה, אין שפה, קשה. ולובה הלכת בבית שלה, אין עבודה, עכשיו הלכת מפה. במנהל שואל כמה לקוחות בא בלובה, ולובה אומר, אחד בא בלובה, כי רק רצה ילד, רק רצה. מנהל אומר, לובה הלך בבית שלך, אין עבודה, אין שפה, קשה. במנהל שואל כמה לקוחות בא בלובה, אומרת אחד בא בלובה, כי כל הזמן אומרת, וואו, למור תדוע. מנהל אומר לה, לובה הלך בבית שלך, אין עבודה. אין שפה. קשה. ובא מנהל שואל כמה לקוחות בא בלובה, לובה אומרת אחד בא בלובה, כי אומרת, זה סבתא רבא, זה בן דודה, רק מתחשקת, ולובה הלך בבית שלה, אין עבודה, אין שפה, קשה. נו, אתה אחד בא אומר, נו, יש לי פריצה מדיסק, ועוד אחד אומר, נו, יש לי שפרות הליכה, ועוד אחד אומר, נו, יש לי ציפורנית חתרנית. במנהל שואל כמה לקוחות
כי כל הזמן נו, יש פסוריאזה, יש רק HIV פוזיטיבה. לובה, לך בבית שלך, אין הבנה, אין שפה, קשה. אתה אחד משודדה, אומר, רוצה רק שודדה, רוצה רק כסף זזומנה, ולובה מביא זזומנה, ואז אומרת, הלו, רוצה מצ'קות, ולובה מביא זה צ'קות, ואז אומרת, הלו, רוצה זה תוות מקנייה, רוצה זה תלושות ממבצע, והלו, במנהל של כמה לקוחות בא בלובה, לובה מרחד בא בלובה, כי רק שודדה, ורק צ'קות, ורק זזומנה, הלו, מנהל אומר לובה לך בבית שלך, אין עבודה, אין שפה, קשה.
Interesting.
I think I drilled the speech into your mind enough
A
times.
little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Cachet. Tough. Now, oftentimes, the second part of the speech was, now you take your stuff and not come to Luba ever in your life. You take your stuff, not come to Luba ever in your life.
עכשיו לקחת מוצרים שלכם, הלכת מפה, קנה בג'מבה, קנה בסולדה, קנה בקל בדולר, לא בא בלובה יותר בחיים שלך. עכשיו, לקחת מוצרים שלך, לא בא בלובה יותר בחיים שלך. לקחת דברים שלך, ולא קנה כאן יותר. הלך בקוקה קולה, הלך בווגה, לא בא בלובה יותר בחיים שלך, וגם על הילד, פרצוף כף. לקחת דברים שלך מפה, לא קנה פה יותר.
אז איפה אני אקנה?
קסמאס, יוניברס קלאב, לא בא בלובה יותר בחיים שלך. עכשיו אתה הלך מכאן לקחת דברים שלך, קנה בעוד לבנה, קנה בבדש, לא בא בלובה יותר בחיים שלך. עכשיו לקחת בעל שלך, ולא בא בלובה יותר בחיים שלך. עכשיו לקחת צל שלך, ולא בא בלובה יותר בחיים שלך. עכשיו את לא לקחת דברים שלך, ולא בא בלובה יותר בחיים שלך. בוא'נה, זאת גנובה הזאת. מה הסיפור שלה?
Yep. That's the character.
Awesome.
And much like Margot, a lot of the times whenever she had a tough customer, and most of the times it was the celebrity guest appearance,
Naturally.
she found a creative way to punish said tough customer.
Oh.
נו!
רצה קנה פסטה מקונכיות, קבל את זה משקפת צלילה? לא. רצה קנה חוט דנטלה, קבל את זה כבל מריח? לא. רצה קנה סוכריות קופצות, קבל את זה טרמפולינה? לא. רצה קנה עוגיות מזרחיות, קבל את דרבוקה? לא. רצה קנה סלמון מושן, קבל את זה מהפרה דקורטיבה? לא. אתה רצה ישבת קופה מלובה ולובה קנה במקום קופה מעל.
ממש אין לי מה לעשות חוץ מלשבת בקופה שלך. כן, בבקשה, יש כרטיס מועדון? זה קופה אקספרס עברת רק 5 מוצרים.
גם קבנוס אני אקח, אבל בלי הסלמי, זה בסדר, אין עם זה בעיה, נכון?
בבקשה, אתה רצה קנה 600 גרם סלמי זה קניאק, מקבל את סמה זה ארונה קינם פינם?
Definitely sure we've all had those moments.
Yep. And that was the shtick. That was the week in, week out, until one day this happened.
מה זה? הלו.
אדון זה מנהל קראת מגובה.
מה שלומך, לובה?
סטנדרט.
So she got called to the office?
Yep. The manager come. He said, what he say to Luba?
Don't know. I don't speak the language.
What is the speech? Manager come to Luba. He say, how many customer come to Luba?
Right.
And Luba say, one come to Luba. Manager say, Luba go home.
Yeah, not enough.
I guess I needed to play that a couple more times, right?
Well, you got to understand, 50. I have a hard time with the language.
Nah, I thought I said it enough times, but yeah, that was what the manager wanted to see.
כמה לקוחות בבלובה? אחד בבלובה. את יודעת מה הנוהל במקרה כזה? צר לי, אבל לובה הלך בבית שלה. אין עבודה. אין שפה. קשה. קשה. עכשיו לוקחת דברים שלך, ולא בא בסופר יותר בחיים שלי.
Luba go home. No work, no language. Tough. Kashe. Tough. Now, Luba, take your stuff and no call to Luba. Come to supermarket ever in your life. But then, wait. Suddenly, this happened.
רגע, אם לובה הלך בבית שלה, גם מוסטפא הלך בבית שלו.
אם לובה ומוסטפא ללכת בבית שלכם, גם שיה ללכת בבית שלה, גם סווטה ללכת בבית שלה, גם יוליה, גם חמדה.
גם ככה כבר לא הרגשתי שייך.
So basically, you fire her, you fire us.
Yep, exactly. So, what do you think is going to happen now?
He fires all of them.
Are you sure?
No, that's what everybody's going.
Would that be a wise business decision?
No, but it would be a business decision that some idiots would make.
Yep, but let's assume for the moment that he's not an idiot. What do you think he's going to do?
Probably put them all back to work.
Yeah, but wait. You say Luba go home. Now manager say Luba no go home. You want to cancel the order. You say Luba do this, and then say Luba do this. Luba no work like this. Luba go home. You manager say Luba go home. Then Luba go home.
אני נותן לך עוד צ'אנס, את יכולה לחזור לעבוד.
קודם אמרת, לובה הלך בבית שלך, עכשיו רצה לעשות בוטול?
והייתה אי הבנה, זה קורה. קחי את החבר'ה, חזרי לעבודה.
מצטערת.
לובה, תכתבי לי.
So was that the end of the character then?
Yeah, she decided to leave, and so she left, and that was the end of the character.
Oh, okay then.
Or was it?
Probably not.
לובה, האם בעקבות ההצלחה את מתכוונת לעזוב את הסופר?
לובה, רוגל מעיתון הארץ. האם את חשה כגיבורה סקטוריאלית ורואה את עצמך כמייצגת את מעמד הפועלים?
לובה, יגאל מעיתון פנאי פלוס. את ומוסטפא נצפתם בשבוע שעבר ב-TLZ וקרובים מתמיד. יש ביניכם משהו?
מצטערת.
So Luba is now famous?
Yeah, apparently all the time they played the sketches on that weird show called Eretz Nehederet, apparently she became famous. She got a lot of public attention from just appearing on this show. It's a very meta in-universe joke.
Gotcha. Okay, I like that. I do like that.
Yeah, so she was a nationwide famous sensation both in the real world and on the show.
במשך החודשים בהם הייתה כלואה בין כותלי הסופר, לובה כלל לא הייתה מודעת לסערה התקשורתית שעוררה.
קשה.
קשה, קשה.
קשה, קשה.
קשה, קשה, קשה.
קשה, קשה. קשה, קשה.
קודם כל, לא קשה, קשה.
בבלובה.
הלקוחות בבלובה בעצמו, הקראת בבלובה.
מיצוי של חוסר זכויות יוצרים.
למה תתראו אותה?
אין עבודה, אין שפה.
בסדר, בסדר. בסדר. מובטלת, הכי פופולרית במדינה היא ללא ספק לובה, הקופאית מארץ נהדרת.
וגם תפקיד בטלנובלה היה כמובן רק עניין של זמן.
שלום, רבינקה.
אדון בן ממנהל, חסר פיצה זה אנשווה, פיצה זה זיתות, ופיצה סלמי זה קניאק.
אולי תפסיק עם המשחק הזה? למה את לא מחזירה לי טלפונים? את יודעת כמה זה מכאיב לי?
קשה?
קשה.
Kashe, kashe. It became a nation famous catchphrase. Kashe, kashe. Tough, tough. So, yeah, with her now fired from the supermarket and and nationwide famous, it was only a matter of time before someone decided she needed a makeover, right?
Uh-oh.
סטנדרטה.
מה זה הדבר הזה שאת לובשת? חייבים לעשות משהו בקשר לזה, לא?
Yeah, you like that.
I was singing along.
I saw that. Yeah, she's world famous now, walking the red carpet with the random handsome stranger of the week. And this is her life now. Seems a little too good to last, doesn't it?
Yep, naturally.
Something's gonna happen, right?
Yep.
מוסטפא, לובה, מתי זה למדתי מדבר יפן,
לובה, איזה יופי לפגוש אותך. נעים מאוד, גיא, סושי, ניגירי. לא עכשיו. את יכולה בבקשה להגיד פה היי גיא למצלמה שלנו? סושי, ניגירי. אפשר בבקשה את המלצר להעיד פה? נו, יאללה.
היידה. נו.
את יכולה בינתיים להעביר. ממש אין לי מה לעשות חוץ מלשבת בקופה שלך. מה קורה, מותק?
מותק? קודם אומר נו, יאללה, עכשיו אומר לובה מותק?
אני בסך הכל רציתי שתגידי פה היי גיא למצלמה שלנו.
אתה רק רציתי אמר לובה היי מגיא? ואורנה מדץ רק רציתי מלביש לובה סמלית הפרשקית, והרלה בברנע רק רציתי עשה כתבה סוציו-אקונומיקה. מותק לובה, וקודם אמרת יאללה, נו לובה, נו.
לובה, מה קורה לך? אנחנו באנו לפה ליהנות. תזרמי.
מזרמי? אמר בלובה מזרמי, מה חשב בלובה זה דג מקרפיאנה? עכשיו לקחת פינס שלך ולא בא בלובה יותר בחיים שלך. מוסטפא,
ערכנו במשלוח more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, and did it my
Not a clue what they're fucking saying, but I sure figured it out.
Now that is how you end a character, right?
Yes, it is.
Yep. Oh, I was waiting for a response.
Sorry, I just got a text. The thing I had after this got canceled.
Oh, come on. Really?
Yeah.
Can't trust people, I suppose. But yeah, so we talked about the news stuff, one-off sketches, series of sketches, serialized sketches. One other thing that sometimes was a prominent thing in this show was, of course, music. Sometimes original music that they wrote for the 4 episodes, and sometimes remixes of existing stuff for joking sake. And yeah, a lot of times, I know you don't like it, but that's how a lot of the times they ended some of their episodes. What?
There's only certain situations where I don't like it, where I think it's
okay. Last time you kind of make it look like it just didn't fit.
It's always a weird way to end stuff for me if it's not specifically a musical. You know, it's just a little weird.
Okay, and this is one of their music offerings. Yep. So yeah, I think we pretty much covered all of today, all the show, but this is how they chose to end season 1.
Oh.
מי שמדבר עם פוטנט כותרות. אל תדברי אליי ככה, חתיכת יצנית חוצת. אינוולידית טיפלי. בעקודה. באבי. שונא אותך, אין לך מושג כמה שאני שונא אותך.
I mean, why not?
Yep. What other way are you going to end this? Yeah. So after hating each other for an entire season, they ended with this, and next season they were a couple.
Oh, there you go.
For as long as that lasted, but yeah. So to put it in Kitsis' own words, אני חושב שנסתפק בדברים האלה. So what do you think of the show so far?
I'm digging it. You know, as usual. Wish I could understand it, but I'm digging it.
Yeah, I think the comedy does transfer over across
for the most part. Yeah,
sometimes. Yeah. If we keeping this up, we might actually get to teach you some of the language so you can actually understand it.
Maybe.
Some. So yeah. Do you have a topic for next week? Did you thought about that?
Actually, well, I don't know. Hold on. I don't know if I'm going to be ready to do one next week just because of how hectic my work life is. But
whenever you can.
I do have an idea that actually kind of just this discussion about this show is kind of you wondering, like, I want to dive more into the history of SCTV. SCTV is actually a major influence on North American comedy that really nobody really talks about, and the people that have come out of that, like, I guarantee you'll know all of them.
All right.
It's only,
as opposed to you with this show, obviously.
Sorry?
As opposed to you with this show.
Right. But I mean, you'll recognize these people because all of them, for the most part, went on to do something famous or are really famous.
Okay. So, wrap up.
So yeah. So you find me Instagram, Twitter, soda_the_saxband, and as usual, doing the same usual shenanigans here.
Yep. And some of those usual shenanigans include this show, and I'm working on bringing back my Doctor Who show, the greatest show in the galaxy, to this show, with hopefully a very special guest very soon. But yeah, you can find it on this channel, which, it's still active, it's still alive sometimes. I don't even know if it's still relevant, but the Benverse, the wider Benverse at large, some of these other channels are still active, with like something to talk about, Galaxy Geeks, Multiverse of Geekdom, Movie Lovers Unite, The Midnight Cinema, 8 Reviews, and of course, In the Front Row, which I haven't spoken to in months. So maybe we should all of us get together sometime and,
maybe
renew the connections we used to have. And of course, you can find me on my YouTube channel, 50 Shades of Geek. I normally do weekly reviews of Doctor Who episodes, and I just wrapped up Shuri Gatwa's first season. And next week, very excited to go back to Doctor Who Revisited, every Doctor Who episode from 1963 all the way up to 2024. Back to the Third Doctor, one of the best Doctors of all time, probably the best straight period the show has ever had. And, some other stuff from time to time whenever I'm in the mood to do other videos besides this Doctor Who stuff. And yeah, so this has been us. Very excited to get further into the show, and trust me, it only gets better from here. Like, first couple of seasons, they needed some time to find their niche, but once they found it, it became the number one show in this country. So I'm very excited to talk more about this show. And yeah, until next time we do another episode like this, whenever that happens, I feel like I might be a little broken. I'm seeing a weird Wi-Fi symbol.
No, we're good. We're good.
Okay, good, cool. So until next episode, whenever that happens, we're gonna finish it like they finish each episode of this show. Don't forget, we have a wonderful country. אל תשכחו, יש לנו ארץ נהדרת. לילה טוב.
What do you say?